we just rely and accept that we have this amazing NHS service, which is totally free.
Yeah.
Is it perhaps time to think about certain aspects of it where you have to start paying and saying, look, if you're, they're not saying you can't get a doctor's appointment, you just can't get it within 2 weeks. So you say, however, if you want to come to A&E and see somebody quickly and it's not an emergency, you have to pay.
My thing with that, though, is we are paying. If you go to work, you are paying for this service. I understand that it is, inundated and there are pressures, but it's about. I don't think that it's up to us to subsidise the NHS, with our actions. I do totally agree that you shouldn't go if you have a minor problem, but saying that,
so how do you stop them going?
In saying that, if I, for instance, I have a cold, I might think I've got a virus. I call my doctor, and my doctor says, "Oh, I can see you in 2 weeks." Well, I'd get worried that how do I know this won't escalate into something worse in 2 weeks? Do you know what I mean? And then, that's the reason why people end up going to A&E, which obviously is something that needs to be sorted.
Then we say the reason those waiting lists, the waiting time is so long, it's 4 hours is the recommended time.
Yeah.
Some people are waiting up to 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's because there are people sitting like you with possibly a virus, but it's not life-threatening.
Yeah. I don't go
Who's
to A&E.
making that waiting time longer?
The thing is, if you go to A&E with an ingrown toenail, you know you're going to sit there for 6 hours. So you can't really then moan, well, I wasn't seen within 4 hours, when you've seen people being rushed in.
Yeah.
So, that is your choice, and I don't think you should moan about that. But like you said, I mean, I've sat there with, I remember one time with Jake, and he fell over ice skating, and I sat for 4 hours because it was like my arm. And it did get to the point where I said, Jake, if this isn't broken, I'm going to break it. 'Cause it's not.
I think that a lot of people... There was a survey at the weekend in one of the Sunday papers that said people are willing to pay more to improve the National Health Service. But I think now that people wouldn't really have a problem of paying £10 or whatever to see someone quickly in a private clinic. Or
I'm so uncomfortable with something like that.
I'm not, because it takes the burden off the National Health Service.
Yet again, it means that people who don't have that money have to suffer. Why should they?
But then it releases the
because
pressure.
It works the other way. Because if you can afford it, if you can go to an A&E where you have to pay, like it's a private hospital near me, they've now opened an A&E, but you have to pay when you go in. So for me, I know what you're saying, but in actual fact, you're helping the people that can't afford it by you, who can afford to go somewhere else, giving them your space by saying, well, you know what,
that does make sense.
You go in before me.
Yeah. I'll leave.
Yeah.
No, it's an interesting point. I mean, would any of you be prepared, if there was an A&E and you could afford it, would you pay? If you had to go somewhere and say, it gets me... Yes, there's a lot of... So we're not... I know what you're saying.
I know what you're saying. It actually does make sense.
Listen, on flights, we don't think anything about paying £15 or £25 extra on a budget flight to choose a seat.
Yeah.
So what's so different about going down to A&E and saying, all right, 15 quid to jump the queue?
And then what